There are pages and pages full of PS5 news articles every day. With so much focus on this new system, I gotta think, God, maybe they'll finally quit touching the PS3. Look at this. You see the last time the PS3 was updated? Months ago. This system came out 14 years ago almost, and it's still getting updates. Why? We're going to be using a slim model PS3 for this. All the fat models should work. Also, super slims are not going to work. You're going to want to go ahead and look at the sticker on the back for the slims and see what model we're working with. For slim models, you want something that at the end says either 2000 and something or 2100 something, which this one does. Now, it looks like this would be pretty simple to get into, and if this was a fat PS3, that would be right, but we actually need a special tool to get into the slims. Now, what I like to do is I like to give it a little whack. Okay, so actually, all this mod is just software. We don't have to open up our PS3 or anything. I was just joking. So, first thing I want to do is I want to go all the way over and go down to system settings, and I want to check what firmware version we're on. And as you can see, my system software is at the newest 4.86. You're going to need to be, I think the lowest one to do this is 4.82, unless you have something specific that you want to do with your version you're doing, which I assume you don't if you're following this tutorial. You can just go ahead and update it and make sure that everything's going to go fine. For this next step, we're going to need to move to our PC. You're going to need a flash drive for this. I try to keep it, I think 32 or 64 is about the cutoff for formatting to FAT32 on Windows without having to do any weird stuff. So if you have a smaller flash drive, I just go ahead and do that. We aren't using really any big files, so that can be totally fine. This one's called Skate Drive because it's in the shape of a skateboard. Isn't that cool? So you just want to make sure it's FAT32. You can do this at default. And that's really it. Now, this is going to erase everything. Please don't yell at me if you lose like your family photos because you didn't read this. Back it up, then hit OK. And now we can plug that into the PlayStation. We'll need to come back here later, but for now we can jump back. Now, the way to update your PS3 is actually really easy now compared to how it used to be if you wanted to do custom firmware, say a few years ago. Pretty much all I'm going to be doing is using the internet to set up almost all of it. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to make a new user on here. That way we'll have a bunch of fresh settings. I assume if you've had a profile for a little bit, you may have tweaked some settings here or there. We just want to set pretty much everything to default. So I'll go ahead and log into this new account. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to date and time settings. And I am going to grab this from the internet. Basically, all I want to do is I want to have all of my internet stuff at the default. So we'll go into our internet browser as well. And if you hit triangle, we can go to tools. We can go to cookies and make sure those are allowed. Now go to tools, go to JavaScript and make sure that's allowed. Now go to tools. We're going to go all the way down to homepage and we're going to use a blank page. That way we aren't loading a bunch of different stuff. I'm actually going to exit now so I get that blank page. Again, just trying to minimize anything weird happening. Shouldn't be too big of a deal, but I'd go ahead and do this because it's so easy. And now we're going to delete all the stuff that we may have had in our browser before. So we're going to delete cookies, delete search history, go on back to tools again, go to delete cache, and we will even delete authentication information. And now, if you want to go ahead and just restart the browser again, probably not a big deal if you really don't want to for some reason, but just go ahead and get that out of the way, make sure nothing weird happens. And now we want to actually go to a website. So, ps3exploit.com, and then hit go. And here we are, PS3 Exploit. Here's the team, if you want to know. And through this is going to help us set everything up. So we want to go to this toolbar up at the top and go to main site. Pretty much any time this website asks if we want to run the plugin, we are going to want to run it. If you want, you can go ahead and add it to your bookmarks. We're going to be coming back here a little bit. And right now it's running the signature search process. So it's kind of trying to set everything up on our PS3. It's scanning it. It's making sure that this is something that can work. And as you can see, it has initialized. The tool set is ready. So we can go ahead and go on over to the Flash Memory Manager. Now, if there was any doubt if your PS3 was able to have custom firmware on it, this will confirm, yes, you can have custom firmware on your PS3, or it'll have an X and you can't. So sorry if there's an X. Should have listened to the beginning of the video. Now, what we're going to want to do is we want to go to our flash memory, because that's kind of what we're going to be modifying, and we want to save a backup of that. And now it'll ask you where we want to put it at. This is the USB that we had on our PC earlier. You can just go ahead and click on it and hit save, and it'll dump it to the root of the folder. And we did it. So once we have that, we can go ahead and jump back to the PC. Now you can go ahead and take this and back this up, put it somewhere safe on your computer. If anything screws up during this process or in the future, you kind of want to have this on hand. Now we want to go ahead and grab a custom firmware, and the place I'm going to be doing that from is PSX Place. If you go ahead and go to this link and then scroll down, go to custom firmware. These are the two that I'm going to be looking at today for my video. I'm not going to do dual boot right now. Maybe in the future I will, but Cobra is what I'm looking at. Now there is Rebug Lite and Ferox Cobra. They have some different features, some pros and some cons to them. If you want to go to their respective pages and look them up, by all means, feel free to do that. All I'm going to be doing right now is doing Rebug though. And again, if you scroll on through, it'll say some stuff about it. Now, something that it does do is it comes with a Rebug Toolbox that I kind of like using, which will help us get set up. But again, either of these are going to work totally fine. Now that we have the file for our firmware, the PS3 does this special thing to check updates. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to need to make a folder, call it PS3 in all caps, and then go into that folder and call this update in all caps. And then we're going to need to move this file all the way into there. And now right here at the end of the name, get rid of all of that. This is what it recognizes for the PS3 update, a PS3 update. Don't know why it's called that, but that's what it is. It's not an update, it's an update. And now if you're interested in grabbing any homebrew and you know what you're doing with it, I would go to a website like this, Brewology, ps3.brewology.com. You could go there. They have a fair bit of stuff. And if you don't know what you're doing, then maybe don't download any of this, and I'll make some future videos on some different utilities you can get for homebrew. Back at the PS3, again, go to internet browser, go back to Flash Memory Manager. And now what we can go ahead and do is we can click on Flash Memory Manager and hit download a patch file. And then just go ahead and select our drive. And what this is doing, this is just backing this up. And now we're going to modify it. So we'll click back on this and we're going to load a patch from HTTPS. So there's an address we're going to need to, oh, actually we don't even need to enter, we don't even need to enter an address. It'll just automatically go ahead and download this for us. And this is not applying it. We're going to have to click on it again and make sure to actually apply it. And that's going to be something that you want to be very careful with. While we're doing pretty much all this, make sure you aren't like in a thunderstorm. Like all of the things, you really don't want the files to get corrupted. Okay, anyway, let's go ahead and go right back to that. And now we're going to apply the loaded patch again. If there's something crazy going on in your house, in your room, whatever, don't do this. Wait. Patching the flash memory can break your console. That means it won't work. And once we're done, you'll hear a little noise and you can reboot your system. Now, I would probably actually exit out before we reboot. So exit out of that and go all the way down. Hit exit, close the browser. And then we can go ahead, turn the system off, and turn it right back on. So give it a second. Now the point of rebooting is so that we can go right back through it and it'll go ahead and update everything. Hopefully it'll actually turn back on and we didn't screw anything up horribly. It looks like we're, working right now, so that's really good. And whenever we do that, we are so close to being done right now. We still have a tiny bit more. I'm gonna go to user 2 again. It's probably not a big deal if you don't want to do that, but again, just to be safe, we'll do that. And now we can actually go to system update. So what we've done is we've allowed it to where we can look at that version 4.86.1 Rebug. That is not a normal Sony firmware. I will tell you that. So if we didn't do that step, we wouldn't be able to update. Now we're gonna update. Again, another huge thing about to happen. Don't turn off your system, please. Just don't. I really don't want to hear anyone say that they accidentally screwed it up. Put the controller down. Don't hit circle. Don't do anything. Just sit and watch. You don't even have to watch. You can go to the kitchen, go get yourself something to drink, and then come back, okay? Don't do anything dumb. Don't touch it. And once it's done, it'll restart, and that's not Sony, that's a Rebug. And we don't need the profile anymore. You can use whatever profile you like. Things are looking a tiny bit different, but not too different. Hey, what is that? Package manager. That is very different. So right here is where you would actually be able to go through and install anything if you downloaded them onto the USB, or you can go to the system storage, and inside of there, Rebug has their own toolbox that's there. And this is pretty much going to be what happens whenever you download any homebrew stuff. It's that easy. And now we can go ahead and I could show you Rebug Toolbox real quick. It's probably not going to be anything that you're going to be messing with, considering I had to show you how to do custom firmware, and this stuff's probably a little more than like entry level sort of tweaking and etc. But here we are. Here's the Rebug Toolbox. You can go into Cobra mode if you want. Again, I'm not going to go over what any of this stuff does. It's you have a lot of power in your hands now. If you want to mess with the level 2 kernel, yeah, I know, crazy. All right, anyway, that's it. That's the end of the video. I'm out. See ya.